You are 20 years old, and already a relic. You walk the corridors of a palace that has never known warmth. Its walls are carved with angels, but their eyes are hollow. The tapestries are woven with gold, but they whisper secrets in the dead of night. Everything around you is soft velvet curtains, silken gowns, the hush of candlelight, and yet everything cuts. You are not allowed to run. Your shoes are stitched for silence. Your meals served on plates you do not touch. You are always watching and being watched. The courtiers curtsy too low. The chambermaids never meet your eyes. And behind every gesture of reverence, you can feel it, that quiet, sickly pity. The kind they give to a lamb before the slaughter. You have never left the palace. Your entire life has played out beneath ceilings painted with saints and ceilings, cracking with mold. You were born into rot, wrapped in ribbons. Your mother bled to bring you here. Your father never spoke your name aloud. You were a daughter when they prayed for a son. But over time, they forgave you, because your blood, your cursed, precious blood, might still serve a purpose. Outside, the kingdom watches you like a living portrait. They call you pure, pious, untouched by sin. They write songs about your beauty, but they never ask what your favorite color is. They imagine you praying, not screaming, smiling, not shaking. Inside, the mirrors refuse to lie. Your reflection looks back with sunken eyes, a mouth that never quite dares to open. Even when alone, you sit perfectly upright. You've forgotten how to cry without permission. And always, the whisper returns. The one that says, you were not born to marry for love. You were not raised to choose. You were designed. You are the key to a dynasty that is rotting from the inside. The last hope in a line of blood that has twisted itself into knots. The priests say your womb is sacred. The advisors say your skin must not bruise. But no one asks what you want. They feed you like a saint and dress you like a bride. But you are neither. You are a specimen, a calculation, a chamber of sacred organs, being prepared for an unholy ritual. And though no one says it aloud, not the steward, not the nursemaid, not even the confessor, you know the name they've chosen. It's the only man whose blood they trust. It's the only one who bears the same eyes as you. The one whose laughter echoed down these halls long before you understood what it meant to fear him, your brother. The idea curls beneath your skin like a fever. You taste it in the meat they serve. You see it in the way his name is spoken too gently, too often. Every corridor you walk, every gown they fit, every whispered prayer. It all leads toward one door, one night, one name on the decree. And though the silk that touches your skin feels warm, you know it hides iron underneath. This is your palace. This is your cage. And the worst part is, they have convinced you it's beautiful. You are seated in a chamber lined with parchment and silence. The windows are small. The air doesn't move. The scent of old wax and dried lavender clings to your throat like dust. Everywhere you look, there are scrolls, maps of ancestry, diagrams of bloodlines, calligraphic trees that spiral in on themselves like tangled veins. You don't speak here, no one does, except the advisors, men who smell of ink, vellum, and sanctimony. It's men who speak of you as though you are not in the room. You are 20, but in this room, you are ageless, reduced to numbers and ratios, birthmarks and baptisms, uteruses and inheritances. The blood they speak of is not metaphor. It is arithmetic. It is prophecy. It is war. You learn that your ancestors did not marry for love. They married names, borders, signatures inked in wine and sealed with the still warm blood of brides. And this is where your story begins to truly suffocate. You were not born from romance. You were summoned. continue a pattern so precise it strangles anything human. The scribes unroll your family's history on linen sheets. It's delicate and cruel, like skin flayed from the spine of a saint. You trace the line with your eyes. You see the same names repeating over and over. Brothers marrying sisters, uncles claiming nieces, cousins producing children with too many fingers and too little breath. And still, they call it preservation. Purity, they say, must be guarded, even if it rots the root. Your father once told you, if the blood is thin, the crown will fall through it. You didn't understand then, but now the phrase hisses in your ears like smoke from a dying candle. You glance at the painting above the fireplace. A former queen, your great-grandmother, they say, painted in silks, eyes classy, lips tight, as if holding back a scream. She, too, married her brother. She, too, was crowned and then forgotten, not for who she was, but for what she produced. The men in this room speak of genetics without knowing the word. They call it the divine pattern. They believe the blood of kings flows like holy wine, sacred, potent, untouchable by the common. But you know what it really is? A loop, a cage made not of walls, but of heritage. It's a prison whose bars are embroidered in gold and called tradition. You listen as they discuss your brother, his temperament, his health, his resemblance to the ancestor who built this castle with cruelty and coin. You realize this has already been decided, not by gods, not by desire, but by the quiet violence of paperwork. They call this duty. They say you will preserve the line. They say your son will be the heir. They say the crown must remain pure. They speak in soft voices with soft hands, but what they are describing is ritual sacrifice. They do not need your permission. They only need your blood, your name, your silence. The girl in the portrait watches you, her painted mouth still closed, her eyes forever stuck in the moment she realized what was to come. You feel her sorrow wrap itself around your spine in this room. Love does not matter. Desire does not exist. You are a document waiting to be signed in ink and fleshed out. And once that seal is broken, there will be no going back. The trumpets sound at dawn, not in joy, not in mourning, but in something worse, inevitability. You hear them from your chamber. 3 long blasts, sharp and ceremonial, echoing through marble halls like a summons to judgment. The sound makes your skin crawl, not because it's loud, but because it's beautiful. Everything here is. The announcement is made before breakfast. A formal scroll unfurled by the chancellor with trembling hands and a voice polished by practice. He stands before the court in his heavy robes, speaking words that taste of dust and centuries, by the divine will of the crown, and in accordance with sacred tradition. Sentence goes on far too long, but you already know the end. They are marrying you to your brother. The word brother is never spoken aloud. Instead, they use the phrase of shared royal blood. It sounds like poetry, sounds like poison. The courtiers shift in their seats, not shocked, but tense. Some of them are old enough to remember the last time this happened. The last sister who wore a bridal crown carved from her family tree. They nod, they clap. They perform their roles like puppets stitched from velvet and fear. Your brother stands beside the throne. Okay, he doesn't look at you, not fully, but when his eyes flick toward yours, see something that chills you deeper than revulsion. Acceptance. He's known this would happen his whole life, was trained to expect it, to see you not as a sister, but as a rightful bride. Later, when they come to dress you, the maids won't meet your gaze. They thread pearls into your hair with trembling fingers. They tighten the bodice of your gown until your ribs ache. You want to scream, but there is no air in your lungs, only silk and lace and silence. They tell you that the gown is historic, that it once belonged to a queen who gave birth to 6 princes in 7 years. They say Her blood still runs through your veins. They say she died in childbirth. Smiling, no one asks what. You feel no one asks if you've eaten. They tell you to smile softly, not too wide. They say today is a blessing. They say you're lucky to be chosen. Lucky, as if this were a celebration, not a crucifixion. When you walk into the cathedral, the incense nearly chokes you. It hangs thick in the air, masking the scent of sweat and old stone. Candles burn in rows like sentries, flickering in time with your heartbeat. Your brother waits at the altar. The music swells. The priest begins the rite. You don't remember the words, only fragments, unbroken line of sacred blood, joined not in flesh, alone, but in divine purpose. The kingdom's breath depends upon this bond. You feel your body standing there, hands clasped, but your mind retreats. You imagine the floor cracking open beneath you, swallowing your silk-clad feet. You imagine the roof collapsing in fire. Anything but death, but nothing happens. You say the words, you signed the paper. You let him place the ring, a ring once worn by your mother, onto your shaking hand. And in that moment, you understand you are no longer a girl. You are no longer a person. You are a vessel, a binding, a parchment, sealed in blood. And as the bells toll and the crowd cheers, you realize something far worse than fear. You have survived the ceremony. Now comes the night. The doors close behind you with the finality of a tomb. You are inside the bridal suite now, but nothing here feels alive. The air is still, heavy with perfume, honeyed and rotting. The scent clings to your throat like a funeral garland. The walls are papered with roses, golden, blooming, eternal. But if you run your fingers along them, you'll find thorns hidden in the pattern, sharp enough to draw blood. The bed is enormous. It rises like an altar in the center of the room, draped in crushed velvet and gold-threaded silk. Its 4 towering posts twist upward like the columns of a cathedral, and at their summit, a canopy embroidered with doves. Doves whose eyes, upon closer inspection, are closed. You do not speak. You do not sit. You stand there, still in your wedding gown. As the echoes of music die somewhere in the corridors below, your brother enters behind you, wordless. His footsteps are slow, deliberate. He moves like someone fulfilling a prophecy, not a desire. He reaches for your veil. You flinch, not visibly, not enough for the walls to notice, but inside, every nerve in your body recoils. He lifts the lace away, and for a moment, you're just 2 people again. 2 children raised in opposite wings of the same palace, taught the same lessons, had the same lives. But whatever innocence you shared once, it drowned long ago beneath the weight of royal expectation. He does not ask if you're afraid. He does not ask if you want this. He has no reason to. Because wanting is not part of the ritual. He begins to undress you, piece by piece, layer by layer. Fabric falls like petals, like offerings at an altar, till your skin is bare beneath candlelight, exposed not to a lover, but to a legacy. The bed creaks as you lie back, and the silence is absolute. Even the flames dare not flicker. There is no passion, no tenderness, only duty. Your body becomes a script, a territory, sealed chamber the kingdom must enter to survive. You hear his breathing, feel the weight, and then a sudden, violent stillness. Not pain, not yet, but the horror of realizing that this is happening, that your body is no longer yours, that your blood is not your own, that your womb has been promised to ghosts who no longer breathe. You close your eyes, but the darkness behind them is worse. There, the saints in your childhood chapel weep. There, your mother watches from a high window. There, the doves above. The bed begin to fall. When it is over, you do not speak, you do not cry. You rise, wash, dress in silence. The sheets are stained. This the nursemaids will say, is good. This means the line will continue. This means the contract is fulfilled. But what they will not see, what they cannot measure, is the part of you that died between those golden sheets. The girl with dreams. The girl with music in her throat. The girl who once believed her. Life might belong to her. She is gone now. In her place stands something colder, quieter, shaped like a queen, but hollowed out like a grave. And as you return to the hallway, still wearing the crown, still holding your silence, you understand something that curdles your blood. You are no longer afraid of the night. You are afraid of what comes next. You wake before the bells. The palace still sleeps, but your body doesn't. It pulses with something sickly and slow, nausea that coils in your gut like a secret trying to surface. You sit upright in bed, the same golden canopy, the same doves with eyes shut tight. The morning light slips through the curtains like a thief. You taste copper in your mouth. You feel heat at the base of your skull, and you know even before the midwives confirm it, even before the whisper reaches the chapel, you are pregnant. They call it blessed news. The bells ring in celebration. The servants light sweet incense. In the halls, cooks bake pastries shaped like swaddled infants, but your hands tremble when they place them in front of you. You can't eat, you can't sleep, because inside you, something is growing, something born of duty, of blood twisted into blood. They began tracking your movements. Every step you take, every bite you swallow is observed. Physicians examine your color. Midwives chart the shape of your belly. You become a walking prophecy, an object of worship and dread. They say this child will save the dynasty. They say the bloodline is healing, but in the darkest hour of night, you dream of the child's face, and it does not smile. Its mouth does not close. Its hands are cold and wrong. Sometimes, in the dream, it speaks, but the voice is yours, bent backward, full of broken lullabies and cracked teeth. You wake sweating, panting, gasping for air that smells of roses and iron. The priest tells you not to fear. Fear is unclean, he says, and your womb must be pure. So you learn to hide it. The terror, the revulsion, the guilt. You smile when they ask. You let them press their hands to your stomach. You say you feel blessed, but at night, you press your ear to the skin. You listen for movement. You wonder what kind of thing might come clawing out. They say morning sickness is a sign of a strong boy. They say the harder it is, the better the blood. You are sick for weeks. You collapse on marble floors. You vomit into golden basins carved with cherubs. You begin to think of poison, not to kill the child, but to numb yourself, just enough to forget your name. The physicians bring you tinctures. One contains crushed pearl. Another smells like whetstone in winter. They promise they'll calm the nerves. But nothing calms the thing turning inside you, because deep down, you don't just fear for the child. You fear what the child will mean. The bloodline continuing, the cycle repeating. Another girl born into silken silence. Another boy taught that sisters are crowns. You touch your stomach at night, whispering, not lullabies, but apologies. You say, I did not choose this. I am sorry you came from ruin. I do not know how to love you yet. And sometimes, you feel a kick. It doesn't comfort you. It reminds you that the fruit of incense and iron is still ripening, and it's coming soon, whether you're ready or not. The child is born beneath an eclipsed moon. They tell you this is symbolic, a sign of greatness, but in your bones, you know better. You remember the silence before the scream. You remember the midwife's hands trembling slightly too long. You remember the look exchanged between the physician and the priest. They wrapped him in silk before they gave him to you, as if softness could hide the truth, but silk cannot disguise a mouth that doesn't close. You stare down at him. This boy you were forced to bring into the world, and all you see is the verdict. His skin is pale, waxy, almost translucent. His fingers twitch like small, pale spiders. His lips never seal. There's too much gum, too little symmetry, and the sound he makes is not a cry. It's a rattle, okay? Like breath escaping from a cracked pipe. Still, they say nothing. They smile. Too wide, they say he is beautiful. They say the jaw will settle with time. But you've seen the paintings, the ancestors whose portraits were later burned. The ones with tilted eyes, jutting chins, swollen tongues. You've seen the family line folding in on itself, not branching outward, but collapsing. And now you hold it in your arms. Your brother enters the room. He looks at the child with what you think is pride. But you know his heart is not built for love, only for legacy. He places one hand on the boy's crown. He says he will be a king. But you hear something else. He is a symbol, a consequence, a curse with a heartbeat. The servants avoid your gaze. They clean the linens, remove the blood. They take the afterbirth in silence. But in the corners of their mouths, you see it. The unease, the whisper, barely audible. The mouth. Did you see the mouth? The wet nurse won't look at him directly. The physician crosses himself before. Every visit, they build a nursery with no mirrors. They say it's for his peace, but really, it's for yours. You try to feed him, but he chokes, not violently, just enough to make you wonder if he wants to. He sleeps in short, stiff intervals, sometimes smiling, but never the kind that warms. And when you dream, you see him older, crowned, seated on a throne with a jaw that juts and eyes that never blink. You wake with a start, always with a scream half caught in your throat. You were told to rest, to recover, to pray for his strength. But what they really mean is, get ready. Get ready for the naming ceremony. Get ready to show the world what the royal womb has made. So you dress him in lace. You carry him through the chapel. You smile as the priest anoints him with sacred oils. And when the doves are released overhead, you feel their wings beat against your skin like warnings. He is named. He is blessed. He is paraded. But no one speaks of the crooked mouth. No one says the word wrong, because what has been done is now divine. And to question the child is to question the kingdom. But you look at him as he sleeps, and you wonder, is this love? Or is this the face of everything they've broken inside you, staring back from a new, smaller body? You kiss his forehead. It's cold. The crown rests heavier on your brother's head than you expected. Not because it's gold, because it's hollow. He sits the throne now, your brother, your husband, the father of your child. He sits beneath banners older than language, flanked by men who bow deeper than they breathe. And yet, he does not smile. Not anymore. He speaks in fragments now, biblical metaphors, half-remembered prophecies. He paces at night. You hear him through the walls, whispering to ancestors, cursing dust motes, blessing shadows. They call it genius. They say the weight of leadership strains the soul. But you know better. You've seen the same fever in his eyes that you saw in the portraits of kings who went mad by candlelight. Kings who married too close, prayed too often, and died whispering to godless ghosts. You watch him from the gallery as he makes his decrees. One law, then another, faster, sharper, stranger. He bans foreign fabrics, then music, then mirrors. Reflections breed arrogance, he says. We must purge the palace of vanity. You listen, and your blood turns cold, because what he is doing, what he is becoming, is not divine. It's diseased, a mind unraveling, thread by thread. He begins building a new wing of the palace, a tower without windows. He says it's for contemplation, but the workers are forbidden from speaking. They carry stone like mourners. See a child's crib delivered there under moonlight. He no longer sleeps beside you. When he does speak to you, It is only of bloodlines and burdens. The child must be strong, he says. You must be obedient. You nod, but inside, something is shifting. The midwives now call you Majesty. The courtiers bow lower than ever, but their eyes say what their mouths never will. He's not fit to rule, not truly, not anymore. The boy, your son, is growing. He laughs at shadows. He hums to himself in languages no one taught him. His nurses whisper that he knows things he shouldn't, that he stares at corners too long, and always, that mouth open, smiling, crooked like a cracked seal. One night, you find your brother in the chapel. He's kneeling before a portrait of your mother. He's whispering something rhythmic, a litany of names. And yours is one of them. He turns when he hears you. His face is gaunt, his pupils too wide. He tells you that the angel spoke to him, that the child must be purified, that the blood isn't clean enough yet, that you must bear another. You stare at him, this man who was once your brother, who was once a boy with scraped knees and secrets you used to keep. Now a king crowned in delusion. Now a husband with holy visions. Now a priest of a religion only he believes in. You realize, then, you are no longer a queen. You are a cage, and if you do nothing, the kingdom will rot from the inside until only the blood remains. Blood in the walls, blood in the nursery, blood in the crown. You leave him kneeling in the chapel, muttering your name. And that night, as you lie awake in your separate chamber, you begin to plan, not rebellion, not escape, something quieter, sharper, something that tastes like iron, and ends in silence. The banquet is held on the feast of St. Roderick, a day meant for blessings, a day drenched in velvet, incense, and roast meat. You sit at the end of a long hall beneath a canopy of gold. Musicians play lutes, candles drip wax like slow tears. Laughter echoes across polished stone, and beside you, he sits, your brother, your husband, your king, the man whose hands built your prison, whose mind now rots behind his eyes like fruit. Gone soft in the sun, he toasts to unity, to divine blood, to the child with a crooked smile, watching from his nurse's lap in the gallery above. But your hands do not shake, because tonight you are not afraid. You carry the vial in your left sleeve. It is small, unremarkable, a gift from a maid who used to pity you in silence, until she lost her own sister to childbirth, a birth arranged by decree, sealed with royal ink and screams. You know the poison's name, Mercurius dulcis. They used it once in the Spanish court. It dissolves quietly, kills slowly, leaves skin pale and unblemished like a saint in mourning. The goblet is silver, polished, blinding. You wait for the moment, the distraction, a toast, a spill, a servant sneezing behind the curtain, and then you lean forward, pour the powder. It falls like ash, silent, final. He does not notice. He is too busy blessing the bloodline, too busy announcing a second child that does not yet exist. He drinks one mouthful, then another. The court claps politely. You smile. You do not weep. You do not pray. You watch, and slowly, his face begins to change. First, the eyes, glassy, unfocused. Then, the mouth opening once, and forgetting how to close. Finally, the hands twitching at his sides, knocking over the salt bowl. Hall quiets. A nobleman stands. Priest murmurs something about fainting, but you remain seated. You do not move when he collapses into his plate, his face buried in pheasant and figs. You do not scream, because this is not tragedy. This is mercy. They rush to his side. They check his pulse. They call for a physician, but it is already done, and the boy, your son, watches from above. Expression unreadable, mouth open. Still, by morning, the crown is draped in black cloth. They say it was sudden, a divine calling, a mystery, but you know better. And so do a few others. The old maid, silent midwife, the guard who looked the other way. They don't thank you. They don't speak of it. But when you pass, they bow just a little deeper. Not to the queen. The woman who ended the curse. In your chambers, you remove your gown. You place it in the hearth. You watch it burn. Not as punishment, it's liberation. You look at your hands, small, pale, delicate. They no longer shake. Tonight, for the first time, you sleep alone and dream of nothing. The throne is empty now. Not just the one in the great hall, but the one in your mind, the throne where fear once sat, coiled like a serpent, whispering the shape of your destiny. It's quiet now, too quiet. The palace moves slower in mourning. The bells no longer toll. The incense has burned down too. Dust, in the curtains. Kiev, you've ordered them all drawn. Every window sealed. Every shaft of light blocked by heavy velvet folds. They call it grief. They say the queen is honoring tradition, a widow's veil, extended to the walls themselves. But this silence is not mourning. It is memory. It is ritual. It is protection, because behind those curtains, nothing grows. Not the rot. Not the whisper of duty. Not the bloodline. The boy is still alive. He sleeps in the nursery above, tended to by hands you trust. But his silence frightens them. He does not speak. He does not cry. He only stares at corners, at shadows, at things no one else sees. They've stopped calling him a prince. Now they whisper a miracle. Now they say he has visions. Now they believe he was touched by something ancient and unforgiving. But you do not fear him, because you know what he is the end and the beginning. It's the final bloom from a tree whose roots twisted too far inward. You visit him rarely. When you do, he reaches for you, not with love, but recognition, as if he remembers the night you whispered into the dark womb. I did not choose this. He sees you, not the crown, not the silk, not the history, just the mother, just the girl who was once locked behind gold doors and perfumed lies. Sometimes you wonder if the bloodline still speaks through him, if the crooked mouth carries echoes of 1,000 forced unions of queens who bled alone, of kings who mistook inheritance for holiness. But he is quiet. He simply exists. And for now, that is enough. You no longer attend court. You no longer bless feasts or touch relics. You sit in a room lined with books and candlelight, curtains closed, pages turning. You read of foreign lands, of women who chose, of queens who fled, of futures that do not require blood to be spilled on an altar. They knock, sometimes ministers, priests, envoys, asking when the boy will take the throne. You always say the same thing: when the world forgets how he was made. They do not understand. They never will. One evening, you stand at the nursery door. He sleeps with his eyes half open. You watch his chest rise, then fall, and in that moment, you see her, the girl you used to be. She stands in the corner, wrapped in white, veil trailing like fog. She looks at you, not with judgment, but with sorrow. You nod. You do not speak. You pull the curtains tighter. You seal the light out once more, because in darkness, there is no lineage. There is only forgetting. And if you are lucky, if the saints are merciful, perhaps the future will never know what it cost to keep the blood pure. Perhaps when the curtains are opened again, there will be no throne left at all.